Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kristen, and today I will be unboxing the July 2024 Inkflight box. Colorverse. Ooh. For this month's Inkflight, we climb aboard a rocket ship to explore the gas giant Jupiter and its moons. Colorverse Season 8, The Great Expedition, has an exciting, diverse range of ink colors that sheen, shade, and shimmer. Each color is inspired by scientific research collected by the numerous missions to the largest planet in our solar system. Pip stickers. I like it. Got some washi tape. Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, I've been using this creative block by Endless for so long. I got this from a previous Inkflight box and I only have like a few pages left. So I do like these little notepads. Endless Studio with Regalia paper, 80 GSM. I think that's cool. Now, is this A5? Well, it's narrower than A5. So I gotta figure out how I'm going to use this. If I'm going to use this for every single pen that I ink up, if I'm going to use this for every single ink that I bring into my collection. Oh, I could do these for I can do this for my bottled inks. I think that would be really nice. The sheet size is roughly the same as A5 notebook page, so you could write a review, remove the page, and then attach it to the inside of an A5 journal. Oh, okay. Okay, so we've got like the wax seals, a nice Irvine ink bottle. I don't remember whose ink bottle this one is. And a pelican nib. I like these. Very cool. Okay, wait a minute. 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, the 7th color. Okay. The 7th color is a random draw from 6 colors paired with the 6 main colors above. Okay, so I have Heliocentrism, a sheening ink. Okay, I can't even tell what color this is. It is completely coating the vial, so I don't know what the color this is. It's so dark. Let's take a look. It looks black. Well, it might be a tealy black, a really, really dark teal. Okay, with that sheen. Maybe a red sheen. All right, let's swatch some inks. Halo Ring. A high shading light blue ink with clouds of lilac. Halo Ring expresses the inner part of Jupiter's ring. It is light blue, but it looks legible. I feel like this ink reminds me of another Colorverse ink. I just can't remember the name of it. Is it Jungbridge or something else? Next is Siderius Nuncius. The astronomical treatise written by Galileo in 1610 detailed the discovery of 4 of Jupiter's moons. This deep, saturated brown-black has a stealthy sheen. There's something about these thick, dark inks that makes me want to slow down and write a little bit more intentionally. Next is Colorverse Bowshock. This electrifying blue ink has a magnetic personality, sheening with a supersonic pinkish hue. Whoa, yeah, it does look like a bright blue ink. I already see the sheen on the outside of the vial. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that sheen right there? I really like how it feels. It feels really lubricated. Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's a wet ink. This is Colorverse Ganymede. Named after the largest moon in our solar system, this shading ink has a soft purplish gray hue. Sounds like it's right up my alley. Laplace Resonance. This extremely light, multichromatic shading ink contains tones of gray, blue, and pinkish gold. What? I worry about the lightness of this ink. Such a lovely gray, but it is so pale. Look at that. I can barely read it. That is insane. Colorverse Massive Storm. This tempestuous greenish blue ink takes its name from Jupiter's signature storm systems. Oh my gosh. Tongue twisters. She sells seashells by the seashore. I grabbed this one because I couldn't see the label. Oh my gosh. I like this. I hope it dries this color. The last ink is Heliocentrism. So there is no information in particular about this one. The bonus ink does not have a little blurb about it. It's like a teal black or a green black. All right, so I am back with all of the swatches completed. Here we have Midori paper, Cosmo Air Light, Yamamoto Bank paper, Aerofil paper, and Tomoe River paper. This is the Tomoegawa Tomoe River paper. First up is Halo Ring. It's a really nice soft blue that has hints of pinky purple in here. Let me bring, let's see, these two closer so you can see them. There's a very, very subtle hint of purple in here on the Tomoe River paper. It is more prominent on Midori paper. If I bring that one a little closer, you can see the purple here a bit better than you can on Tomoe River paper, for example. And next is Siderius Nuncius. This ink looks black in heavier applications. So these little swatches here, they look almost black, but there's a very, very subtle hint of color in the writing sample here. It is so dark. And this one reminds me of, I believe it's Dominant Industry Winterwood. Next is Colorverse Bow Shock. And yes, this is a high sheening ink. Look at that. It looks almost, it basically looks pink because of the reflective sheen on this ink. This ink reminds me so much of Organics Studio Nitrogen. And it's pretty consistent across papers. The sheen is not as prominent. It is still quite prominent here on Tomoe River paper on the right and Airful paper on the left, but it is the strongest on the bank paper and Cosmo Air Light paper. Midori is not far behind. Colorverse Ganymede is a really lovely purple gray color. It is much more purple when the ink is wet, but it dries down to a nice neutral, slightly cool toned gray. These ink swatches look pretty interesting on these three papers. Well, it's interesting on all five actually, but if I bring these a little bit closer, you can see a little bit of some chroma shading going on here and just a hint of some sheen, but it is a pretty soft gray, but not as soft as Colorverse Laplace Resonance. This ink, gorgeous as it is, look at that right there. That is so cool. I think this ink is so very nice, but I can't see it if I write with a fine nibbed pen. This is impossible, but I think it would be a really nice ink to just try some things. Let me bring them all a bit closer because I think this is such a nice ink color, and I don't think that the camera is picking it up as strongly as I see it in person. Like, it looks like a really, really pale gray, but I am seeing shades of yellow and pink, and I'm seeing all of the details that were mentioned on this sheet. This extremely light multichromatic shading ink contains tones of gray, blue, and pinkish gold. Yes. So I see all of those colors when I look at Laplace Resonance on all five of these papers. Next is Colorverse Massive Storm. And this ink is so nice. I think it's one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites for the month. Oh, it's so cool. This teal, deep teal green color, it just looks so nice. I don't know if I have anything that is similar to this color, but as soon as I saw it, I knew that I was going to have to consider whether or not I want a full bottle of this ink because it looks so good. And last but not least is Colorverse Heliocentrism. And I actually did a little ink smear over here so that I can get a better understanding of this ink color. I wasn't sure if it was a completely black ink color. It just felt like there was something hidden underneath the sheen. So I did that little swipe right there, and it is very, very deep. It is almost the same hue as Massive Storm, but it has less saturation, and it is, of course, much deeper with this sheen on top. This sheen right here on Cosmo Air Light paper is quite insane. Just to give you one final view or comparison of all of these inks on Airful paper and Tomoe River paper. These ink colors are pretty consistent across papers. There's only like a hint of difference for inks like this one, Halo Ring, that have some chromal shading properties. Laplace Resonance, the chromal shading properties are the strongest on Tomoe River paper and Midori paper. There's a hint of these colors on the other papers, but at least on the swatches, they actually don't look gray on these two papers. It's pretty consistent down here. There is a little bit more warmth to Colorverse Massive Storm on the bank paper than there is on the others. So for example, Beautiful paper is showing a slightly more blue, slightly desaturated version of Massive Storm in contrast to the ink on Yamamoto Bank paper. Okay, so these are all 5 of the ink swatches on coloring paper, and the ones that, let me just go ahead and remove the ones that I'm just okay with not trying or not having in my collection. Now, all 4 of these are really, really interesting. Colorverse Siderius Nuncius reminds me of Dominant Industry Winterwood. It's such a deep, dark color. Winterwood might be a cooler tone brown if I take a look at the color of the brown right here in the corner. Colorverse Ganymede reminds me of Lavender Frost from Diamine, and it also reminds me of Colorverse Iris Nebula, one of my favorite shimmer inks. Massive Storm, I don't think I have anything like this color in my bottled ink collection. Colorverse Heliocentrism, I wonder what this is like in comparison to Pilot Iroshizuku Takesumi. I guess that is my new favorite black ink. I would be really interested to see how this stacks up against that ink. And I forgot to mention that I noticed that all 7 of this month's inks are cool tone colors, like the blues and greens and grays and blacks. Even though this looks pink from some angles, if I put all of these together, they just feel like, it feels like they all kind of match and they work together. Even though, you know, they have different properties, the cool tone and possibly the fact that they're all colorverse inks, so they are likely to have so many similarities beyond what I can see with the naked eye. I don't know how else to say it. I really like this set of colors. They work really well together. I mean, Bolshak kind of sticks out like a sore thumb with this pinkish sheen. But other than that, I really do like this collection of colors together. It looks really nice. Okay, so now let's take a look at some similar ink swatches. Here is Massive Storm next to Robert Oster River of Fire. River of Fire is more of a warm green. Colorverse Massive Storm leans more on the teal side of things, if you can see it right there in the light. Octopus Fluids Write and Draw ink Petrol Axolotl is similar. It actually is quite similar. There is a little bit more blue and less saturation in Colorverse Massive Storm, and there's also a stronger black sheen on Petrol Axolotl. Laban Hera is lighter, less saturated than Colorverse Massive Storm. I do prefer the more saturation that I see in Massive Storm. Here is Robert Oster Deep Sea next to Colorverse Massive Storm. Deep Sea looks blue by comparison, but it's not as deep, and it is more saturated than Massive Storm. Another deep dark ink that I really do like in this blue-green color space is Inkabara Petrol Dark. It's definitely more blue, but it has a little bit of some green and yellow and red in here. I really do like that. I like both of these inks. I need to revisit Petrol Dark. Oh, so nice. All right, let's get started on these sheening inks. Here is Colorverse Bolshak next to Van Diemen's Blue Ringed Octopus. They both have a pretty strong sheen. The sheen on Colorverse Bolshak looks to be stronger. Here is Diamine Polar Glow. Pretty similar. Colorverse Bolshak seems to be a cooler blue, a cooler tone blue. Vincent Inks Blue Blood, that has a stronger sheen than Bolshak. Here's Diamine Arctic Blast with a red sheen and some blue-green shimmer. There is Organics Studio Nitrogen. Colorverse Bolshak seems to have a little bit more violet or cool tone blue than Organic Studio Nitrogen. PW Ackerman Shocking Blue next to Colorverse Bolshak. So the sheen is actually a coppery red in comparison to the pinkish or magenta red in Bolshak. Here is Colorverse Hippocamp next to Colorverse Halo Ring. Hippocamp is a warmer, lighter blue than Halo Ring. Here's Robert Oster Gray Seas next to Colorverse Halo Ring. Gray Seas has a little bit of some chromal shading right there in that darker area. Here's Colorverse Cotton Blue next to Halo Ring. Here is Troublemaker Inks Milky Ocean next to Halo Ring. Troublemaker Inks Milky Ocean is a more saturated blue, and the chromal shading purple is a bit stronger in this ink. And here it is, the ink that I thought looked so very similar. This is Colorverse number 46 Jung Bridge next to Colorverse Halo Ring. So Jung Bridge was from January of this year. Halo Ring is from July of this year. They look like they have the same amount of saturation, but Young Bridge is more of a purple color, lilac or a violet blue. It's a soft purplish blue with a little bit more purple in the chromo shading areas. And here it is next to Seiro Mayo Nekoyanagi. Here is Colorverse Laplace Resonance next to Sailor Fuji. They look completely different, but I figured it would be nice to see the two next to each other. Oh wow. Dominant Industry Early Spring number 22 next to Colorverse Laplace Resonance. This Dominant Industry ink actually does have a shimmer in here, but it is just as light as the ink itself. Colorverse Laplace Resonance is probably a better behaved ink than this Dominant Industry ink. Here is Dominant Industry Matin next to Laplace Resonance. I would rather use Dominant Industry Matin. And here it is next to Diamine Lavender Frost. And while we're here, let me bring out Colorverse Ganymede next to Diamine Lavender Frost. They are so very similar. Diamine Lavender Frost seems to be slightly lighter, and it's a little bit warmer as well. Here's Colorverse Iris Nebula. They look so similar, but just like Lavender Frost, Iris Nebula is a warmer shade of gray as well. It's not a warm gray, but it's just not as blue-purple as Ganymede. Here is Linen Toolbar Catfish Spirit next to Colorverse Ganymede. They're very similar. Colorverse Ganymede might be a bit bluer by comparison. Here is Colorverse Heliocentrism next to Pilot Iroshizuku Takesumi. Colorverse Heliocentrism does have a stronger sheen than Pilot Iroshizuku Takesumi, but Heliocentrism doesn't look like it's one of those inks that would overtake the writing, like I'm guessing Bullshock would do. Here's Van Diemen's Tomcat. They're probably very similar in hue. If I did a little swipe with this ink too, it will probably end up being some shade of green. The sheen is also stronger on Heliocentrism. Here's Private Reserve Velvet Black with no sheen next to Colorverse Heliocentrism. And here is Heliocentrism next to Platinum Carbon Black. Both have a sheen. One is black and the other is red. Here is Colorverse Siderius Nuncius, the brown ink with a dark shimmer, next to Pilot Iroshizuku Yamaguri. And here it is next to Dominant Industry Winterwood. Winterwood looks like it would at least show you a little bit more brown than Siderius Nuncius, but they are both quite dark. Here is Siderius Nuncius next to Robert Oster Motor Oil, another really deep dark brown color, and Anderillium Cuttlefish Brown. And Siderius Nuncius seems to be just slightly, just barely warmer than Cuttlefish Brown. Okay, so I think this is everything. All of the swatches here, got the stickers here, and the notepad. I am really excited about using this one with my bottled inks. Okay, I wanted to come back and give you an update on this ink journal creative block. This paper just feels really nice. Unfortunately, after testing it out with a few small bottles of ink that I have in my collection, I will have to say that this paper does not like pools of ink. So I used my Kakimori brass dip nib to make these larger swatches and to write the names of the ink in bold at the very top. Well, I forgot to do it right there. But up here, at least with the wetter inks, the ones that are less viscous and less sheeny, this Endless Regalia paper doesn't really like to have so much ink in one place. So it did very well whenever there is not very much ink on the page. Yeah, so it looks really good, but it suffers when there is a lot being pulled up on the paper. So at least for the Endless Regalia, I will be using this to catalog my bottled ink collection, but I won't be using my Kakimori dip nib for this. I'll actually be using either the Sailor Hokoro dip nib or actual fountain pens with those bottled inks. So if I take a look at this ink journal notebook, this is the same paper, Endless Regalia paper, in the creative block in notebook form. So it does very well with shading inks, with shimmering inks. There is no bleed through that I've experienced so far with any of these inks. So it doesn't matter if it's high shading, if it has shimmer, if there is a lot of sheen, like with this one, there is shimmer and sheen in Diamond Best Wishes. But as long as I'm not putting heavy pools of ink on this Endless Regalia paper, the paper does very, very well. So I still prefer the look of these inks on Tomoe River paper, Iroful, Cosmo Air Light, even Midori paper. They seem to be just a little bit dull on the Endless Regalia paper, but as far as just cataloging the information about the inks and the flow and the chromatography and everything here, I know I didn't fill it out completely because I want to do at least this part with a fountain pen inked up with this ink. So far, the papers do very well, and it will give me a quick overview of what a pairing with pen and ink would look like and how they would perform together. There we go. I just wanted to make sure I gave you enough information about how this paper performs if you're interested in looking for this creative block by Endless Studio. So yeah, that is everything in the July 2024 ink flight box. Just to reiterate, these are my two favorite inks from this month's box, Massive Storm and Ganymede. Those are the two inks that I would love to see, that I would love to use in the month of August. Ugh, I'm undecided about these two inks because they are just so deep and dark. This is the brown one that kind of looks black, and this is the teal black color that I just want to know what it's like in comparison to Pilot Shizuku Takesumi. Let me know what you think about this month's ink flight and what your favorites were from this month. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.